Welcome to the commission meeting of December 12th, 2023. We have a guest to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Aiden Breyer from Scout Troop 65. So Aiden, come on down to the lectern here. If you could lead us in the pledge, we would appreciate it. You rise, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Aiden. Manager McGill, if you could call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Flynn.
Present.
Commissioner Grella.
Here.
Commissioner Ranning.
Here.
Commissioner Swager Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Silverman.
Here. We'll proceed with the summary of discussion session topics and managers' announcements, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier tonight, Commission met in discussion session and received information and discussed the following items. We received information regarding a gas line replacement project that's scheduled for 2024. We received information on a proposed financial services agreement between or involving Aetna, Churchill, and the DCED. This is very similar to what we've already instituted with Dormont. We heard a presentation on the Snow Angel program that was started last year and how residents can volunteer and other residents can sign up to receive the service. We also received information related to the meeting schedule and other details for our new advisory boards that will begin their work in April of 2024. And we really did not have any updates on our various boards. Some of those boards have not met and will not meet in December. Prior to that meeting, we met in executive session to receive legal advice from the solicitor on a variety of topics. Commission also met in executive session on December 1st, following a budget workshop to discuss the manager's 2023 review, excuse me. Next commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. That's our annual organization meeting. That meeting begins at 8 p.m. in this room. And then the next meeting of the commission following that will be held on Tuesday, January 9th. That meeting also will begin at 8 p.m. in this room. Ways the public can participate. You can either do that in person, as a lot of you are doing this evening. You don't need to pre-register, simply show up at the appropriate meeting time. Or remotely via the Zoom webinar format. Again, you don't need to pre-register. Simply click the link located on the meeting agenda on the municipal website. If you wish to speak during citizens' comments or during public hearings, simply use the raise hand feature on Zoom and you'll be notified when it's your turn. If you're here in person, we have sign-up sheets at the back of the room. And I believe that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, community highlights. Commissioner Vice President Swager Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Medical Rescue Team South Authority is in the middle of its membership drive. It works like this. If you are a member and you need an ambulance, MRTSA will first submit the claim to your insurance. Then you will only be billed for half of what your insurance doesn't cover. That's extra helpful if you have high deductibles or co-payments. But speaking of insurance, this is your way of ensuring that MRTSA continues. You might be young and healthy and think you never need MRTSA, but guess what? When you do, you want them there. And the only way to ensure that they're going to be there is to subscribe and support them. So please consider that. You can join online at www.mrtsa.com or call 412-343-5111. If you are a senior citizen and do not have the money to hire someone to shovel your sidewalks, you can sign up with Mount Lebanon Municipality to be matched with a volunteer to help you. Email the program coordinator at gwharton@mountlebanon.org or call 412-343-7032. If you have time to help others, you can also contact Greg or go to our website at mountlebanon.org to fill out a volunteer form. Remember, you have 24 hours after the end of a snowfall to clear your walks of ice and snow. Businesses have 4 hours. When we get deep snow accumulation, the Mount Lebanon Fire Department would appreciate it if residents would shovel a 3-foot circle around the neighborhood fire hydrants. It helps them get to it quickly in the case of a fire. Again, very important. Relay for Life is again sponsoring Light Up Night on Sunday, December 24th to remember and honor those touched by cancer. Luminaria kits are available for $20 each at relayforlife.org/PA Mount Lebanon, with proceeds going to the American Cancer Society. And finally, the commission and staff of the municipality of Mount Lebanon wish you and your family the happiest of holiday seasons and a wonderful new year. To those of you who chose to make Mount Lebanon your home this year, thank you. All of us send everyone our best wishes for a safe, healthy, and enjoyable 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mhm.
Next on the agenda, Fire Chief Sahida.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's my honor to announce the promotion of Lieutenant Daniel Morris to the position of Deputy Chief with the Mount Lebanon Fire Department. Deputy Chief Morris began his fire service career in 2003 as a volunteer with the Westwood Volunteer Fire Company in Cambria County, where he eventually worked his way up through the ranks to the position of Volunteer Fire Chief. He worked for the Cambria County Department of Emergency Services from 2009 to 2016, when he was hired as a full-time firefighter in the city of Johnstown. Shortly after that, he joined the Mount Lebanon Fire Department in January of 2017. He has served in all 5 of the department's divisions, played an instrumental role at the department's assistant accreditation manager, and is currently the municipality's emergency management coordinator. Deputy Chief Morris has an associate degree in fire science from Bucks County Community College and a bachelor's degree in fire administration from Waldorf University. Congratulations, Dan Morris, to you and your family, and thank you for your service to our community.
Chief, I don't know if you want to go out in the lobby and take pictures or what, Next on the agenda, Junior Commissioner Sarah Hudak, come on down to speak, please.
So at the high school, we are currently in our week of 10 a.m. starts and Keystone exams, as I mentioned last meeting. And these will end this Thursday. This evening was our band concert and it was at 7:30 p.m. This Thursday, December 14th, is the high school orchestra concert, and that is at 7:30 p.m. as well. And then on Friday, we'll have extended homerooms for Link Crew. And then there's percussion concerts in the high school fine arts theater at 7 p.m. on the 15th. And at 7 p.m. as well as 1 p.m. on the 16th. And then on the 22nd, students have a noon dismissal. And that is also the day of the Lebo Legacy Games, as I mentioned last meeting. And after that is our winter break until January 1st.
Nice.
Thank you.
Before you step away from the microphone, this is her last session here as a junior commissioner. We have a gift. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any resident to express an opinion on any topic pertaining to local government. The commission enjoys hearing from the public on various issues and learning about items to address in the future. If you have specific questions, we will try and answer them at the end of your comments. If we can't, we commit to getting you the answers as soon as possible. When I call your name, please come to the podium to address the commission. Please state, excuse me, your name and address for the record. In fairness, we ask each speaker to share their thoughts for 5 minutes. The community is as good as each person in this room and online. We work together to make this a community that we can all be proud of. We hope that the dialogue remains respectful. We also appreciate the audience's efforts to refrain from any behavior that is disruptive or might intimidate free speech. First on the sign-up sheet is Colonel Hoon.
Bill Hoon, 456 Coolidge Avenue. The day of the last commissioners meeting, and I don't recall the date exactly. I was jogging on Arden Avenue. I go over that way a few times a week. And I was headed down Arden toward Cochrane. And I came to the intersection with McCain. Now, as you all know, there's a circle there now. So I noticed a vehicle coming up McCain headed toward Beverly. So we were going to cross paths. Now, the vehicle came up to the stop sign, hesitated, and then made an immediate left just as I stepped off the sidewalk into his path. Well, I'm sure you all know you're supposed to go right, go around the circle and get off where you want to get off in the direction you want to go. Well, this guy was headed right for me. And I can be pretty quick on my feet when I have to be, so I jumped back on the sidewalk and he continued up Arden away from Cochrane Road. And I'm not over there all that often. I'm not doing this 24 hours a day, but that's the second time I've seen somebody going the wrong way around the circle. I think it's pretty interesting. See, everywhere I've been, there's a directional sign posted so people know which way to go. These folks that are going the wrong way evidently haven't traveled extensively, so they don't know you go right. Okay. Recently, Ms. Rainey indicated that the thing that's up at the top of Arden on Overlook was a traffic calming device. I think that's
The pedestrian
what
walk,
was said.
elevated walk, the pedestrian walkway you're talking about, yeah. It's
What?
okay, you can carry on, never mind, yeah.
Okay. Well, there are 4 stop signs up there also. And then this thing. And that thing, I'll tell you what, I stopped up there one day a couple of weeks ago to watch traffic move around that. Supposedly it's traffic calming because people in the area have complained. Well, you would be amazed how fast some of those vehicles can go around that thing. And I'm not talking about hitting it. I'm just talking about whipping around that thing and heading down to Beverly Road. So I don't think it's calming anything. You know, the issue here is we're a pass-through community. We're in the way. People from town are headed south. And in the morning, they come from the south and go to town. Most of these people are not from Mount Lebanon. They could care less. We're in the way. So that's what's happening there. I don't know if any of you were here in 2004 and 2005. We had a lot of controversy then. We had over 100 people show up on 3 occasions to protest the deer killing plan that was approved and to provide evidence that it didn't need to be done. 3 different times, over 100 people. What was the outcome of that? I mean, you had a few complaints up on Overlook. We had an uproar down here. I was interviewed on the sidewalk by the Post-Gazette. And, nothing. I mean, the commissioners weren't even looking at the people that were talking. They were looking out the window, you know, they were just, it's too bad we have to put up with this stuff. And then we went on with the killing program. What's the difference between having hundreds come up here and having whoever complain about Overlook? We've been complaining on Coolidge and Ray for over a decade about people speeding through. And actually, a family on Ray moved because the woman was scared to death that one of her two boys would get killed by a car.
Thank you for your thoughts, Colonel. Next on the list, Dave Egler. I saw Dave, there he is.
Dave Egler, 121 Poplar Drive. I'm gonna try to be quick. It's gonna be a two-part discussion. I'm gonna be talking about right now, item number 10 related to the fee, which I've spoken about before. I guess I'm kind of curious. There seems to be some confusion on this fee and such. I mean, the way I see it, bottom line is, as far as this fee goes and what gets done with the fees, whether you do taxes or fees, it's gonna get done. You can get as much done as you want. The only thing that's in question is how we fund refuse, sanitary sewers, and storm sewers. That's the only thing in question. How do we fund it? From what I could tell, the commission believes we should fund it using fees. I say we should be using taxes. That's the only difference here. Everything else is agreeable and the same. I guess I look at it as a regressive tax in that you're asking the lower end on the economic scale people to pay a higher share. That's a fact. That's what it comes down to. It's almost like on a federal tax side, say, we're gonna get rid of the lowest bracket and highest bracket, and we're gonna squeeze it together. That's what we're doing here in Mount Lebanon. I find it hard to believe that the commissioners want to really put the burden on the lower economic end here, because that's what's happening. It has nothing to do with the funding and having these projects done. They got done before, they can get done in the future, taxes can take care of it. I was just wondering what the cost of getting away from taxes, the cost for these three fees in mailing the bills, processing, everything else. I would hope that to make this decision, you would have had that cost. Yes, no? I'm kind of curious because we're talking tens of thousands of dollars paid extra. It's not necessary.
Our finance director, I believe, is Andrew still here? Oh, there he is,
Is-
sorry.
Is his
The-
time up though? Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to,
Yeah, do you want to respond to that?
at the end, just comment.
Approximately $6,000 in postage, and meal and profits.
That's for what
For both stormwater and.
and refuse. And how much do we pay Jordan related to the sanitary sewer a year?
We pay them 43 cents a bill on postage.
What annually, what would that approximately, what are we talking about here?
Pay them $9,000 a month.
So $9,000 a month, so you guys can do the math. Okay, that's a payment being made that if it was part of the taxes, that this cost wouldn't be necessary. So just want to put that out there. I would think that all the commissioners have looked at this also to see how it affects them personally. To see paying more or less. Well, if you haven't, I've done it for you. I'm not gonna mention any names, okay? And it's public record anyway. But I'll just say, like Commissioner A, you're paying $52.45 more next year, 1.8%. Commissioner B, paying $80.70 more, 3.2%. Commissioner C, you're paying $177.88 more. That's a 12.5% increase. Going up, as you can see, you've got a little pattern here. Commissioner D, $219.20. It's a 25.9% increase. And Commissioner E, $232.06. It's a 33.4% increase. That's almost approximate minus. So everybody up here is paying more next year. So it kind of tells you something, and I'll get into that discussion since I'm running out of time here in the budget part of it on the numbers, which doesn't make much sense. But the bottom line is, I look at these fees. It's not necessary to have a fee. The accounting can be separate. Everything else is just the funding. And like I said, I hope you agree with me in that you're seeing who's paying more. That it is the lower end, the lower value homes are paying a higher percentage increase next year. I think it was obvious by the numbers I'm throwing out here. Higher value the house, the less the impact. The lower value, you're paying a lot more next year. That's true across the board. So I just hope you realize that, you know, it's like, who's getting hurt? And the bottom line is you need X amount of money in a given year. I get that. It's not back into it however which way. Thing is, what's the fairest way? And hey, your state tax, all the other taxes, you know, that's straight percentage. But once again, the higher wage earners pay more. On a federal tax, they account for that. That's why you have all the different brackets. So that it makes it affordable for everybody out there. Right here in Mount Lebanon, I see it's a disservice to a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Next on the list, Greg Boris.
I may have signed the wrong list. I wanted to comment on the San Vivo plan, so, is that
Right, we'll put you on that list.
That-
Yep, we'll put you on that list. Thank you. Here, copy address. Anybody online to comment, citizens'
Yeah.
comments?
Yes, we have one online. Hold on.
All right,
Anna, good evening. Please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for your comments. You will hear a tone when your time is concluded.
Good evening. This is Anna Stiefkin, 19 Woodland Drive. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you today. I'm in Washington, D.C. Doing service to the federal government. First, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity for free speech and being able to be a part of this meeting. I'd like to say congratulations to the commissioners who were recently reelected. And overall, I wanted to say that I appreciate all of your service to our community. My comments tonight are very brief because my understanding is that some money has been set aside for sidewalks in 2024. I wanted to thank the commissioners for your attention to this important safety matter. And I'm really excited to hear that the lower half of Woodland Drive is planned. I hope that is the plan. I just wanted to confirm and state how important it is for the safety concerns of that neighborhood. And I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate your efforts in this area. Thank you very much.
thank you, Anna. Is there anybody else online who wishes to speak?
Nobody else.
All right, that concludes citizens' comments. Next is item 5. Commissioner Spargo Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the consideration of the minutes from the adjourned meeting held November 28th, 2023. I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Bless you. Item 6, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public hearing on the 2023 comprehensive plan. The Pennsylvania Municipality Planning Code requires local government entities to update their comprehensive plan every 10 years. In 2022, Mount Lebanon engaged Patrick MTR to provide consulting services related to the update of the comprehensive plan. The draft plan document was published on ascendlevo.com in October and is available for public comment and review.
All right, we'll conduct a public hearing. First, we'll start. Ian McMeans, do you want to give some overview? If you and Jenny want to come at the same time, do it separately, whatever you feel is most appropriate.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. Ian McMeans, Assistant Municipal Manager, Municipal Planner. So as Commissioner Randy mentioned, municipalities are required by both the Municipalities Planning Code, which is a statewide document, as well as Mount Lebanon's Home Rule Charter requires us to conduct a update of the comprehensive plan every 10 years. The last plan, Elevate Mount Lebanon, was adopted in 2013. A comprehensive plan on the whole is a big picture advisory document that lays out the goals and objectives for the municipality over the next decade. And excuse me, there are several things that the municipality's planning code requires be part of a comprehensive plan. This document accomplishes all of those. In brief, those are community development goals and objectives, plans for future land use, plans for meeting the housing needs of current and future residents, transportation plans, community facilities plans, a recognition of the interrelationships of various plan components, both short-range and long-range implementation strategies, and acknowledgement of natural and historic resources that are present within the municipality. As far as the approach to the project, Commissioner Ranney mentioned excuse me, that the municipality engaged Patrick MTR as the prime consultant along with various sub-consultants. That award was made by the commission in May of 2022, which was when the overall process began. Ms. Easton, the principal with Patrick MTR, is here tonight. She's also been our project manager to guide us along the way. She'll have a few additional comments to make. And through working with them, we have been able to utilize the turning outward approach that the Harwood Institute advocates for public engagement, that a typical comprehensive plan process that you see in most municipalities that do it starts with focus groups, starts with key person interviews to set the parameters of what the plan is going to be, and then kind of takes those parameters out to the public. The turning outward model is based on going to the public first, and that's what we did in this process. We went to the public. The very first thing was to start with a public survey asking two very simple questions of what do you like most about Mount Lebanon and what would you like to see change, those aspirational questions. And then using those over 900 points of feedback from that initial public survey, we started to define the key issues that were cropping up multiple times throughout various comments of what were things people liked, how could we enhance those, what were issues people raised that over and over and over again that we saw that could potentially need to be addressed throughout the planning process. And it was really that public engagement that defined the key issues of the plan as we moved it forward. Concurrent with that, the comprehensive plan document itself mirrors the 5 new advisory boards that the commission passed an ordinance last year, or earlier this year actually, to adopt and will take effect next year, so that the comprehensive plan itself, once adopted, then will become the guiding document and kind of the work plan for the new advisory boards, as the 5 key sections of the comp plan mirror the 5 new advisory boards that the commission has instituted by ordinance. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Easton to talk a little bit more about the plan. And I will just say that the municipal staff has all had a chance to review the recommendations within the plan, and we're very excited to have this plan kind of set the stage for the next decade in Mount Lebanon.
Thank you, Ian. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you all again. I'm Jenny Easton, partner and planning director at Patrick MTR. We had the privilege of assisting municipality in facilitating this project. In initial conversations about the project last summer, I remember that Commissioner Flynn asked a very important question. How would we ensure that the comprehensive plan is built to be relevant and durable for the next 10 years? The answer is in the process. So the draft plan that's available online represents a statement of collective community values and priorities made clear across thousands of points of contact, translated into practical action steps with help from many volunteers, representing a variety of community perspectives and partner agencies, as well as guidance from appointed boards, senior staff, and elected officials. Just to briefly hit a few highlights with regard to the steps that have led us here. As Ian mentioned, we moved kind of from the broad to the specific along the way. Our plan had 3 phases: explore, test, and build, each of which involved both online and in-person outreach to involve as many people as possible in the plan. Laura and her team in the Public Information Office did heroic work in helping us get the word out about participation opportunities at every stage through multiple features in the magazine, on municipal social media, mountlebanon.org, on flyers throughout the community, LEBO alerts, and elsewhere. In that first phase, we launched a project website and an initial open-ended survey with the 2 simple questions Ian mentioned. We left the boundaries off those questions. We wanted a wide range of responses, didn't want to put limits or framing on how people can answer those questions. So across the 900 or so responses we received on the initial survey, the responses, I would say, did fall mostly into a handful of categories that kind of guided where we moved from there. We asked more about those categories in a more full follow-up survey that received 1,800 responses. This helped us discern priority and better understand the context of those main issues that were coming through. We also opened an interactive online map where people could drop pins to identify site-specific suggestions, as well as upvote or downvote one another's suggestions and add comments or photos. The map garnered more than 900 comments and pins. Recognizing, of course, that not everybody is as online, maybe as I am. We also appeared at a series of community events to talk with people about the plan and collect their ideas. So last summer, that included the July 4th Community Day, the homecoming football game versus Upper St. Clair, the Artist Market, and Trunk or Treat. During the test phase, we activated 3 focus groups to workshop the ideas that we're starting to develop around major focus areas, mobility, resiliency, and engagement. So those groups met several times. We also launched topic-specific surveys at that point to gain direction on recommendations for those areas. Each of those surveys received 300 to 500 responses, many with detailed comments. Community events during that time focused on testing possible recommendations. We surveyed people about an e-bike test ride on Earth Day. We appeared at Uptown Unveiled to ask people what they thought about different options for improving Washington Road and redeveloping South Garage. Our final public event was the Artist Market back in October, where we collected reactions to the draft recommendations. During this final build phase of the planning process, we focused on encouraging people to review and provide feedback on the draft plan document. 822 unique visitors have viewed the draft since we launched it in late October. We received comments from, I think as of today, 26 people on the online form, in addition to 8 to 10 letters or emails submitted separately. We know that each submitted survey response, each conversation at a community event, each pin on the map, each submitted comment indicates an investment of time and care by a person who's deeply invested in what happens next in Mount Lebanon. Those pieces of input are what built the plan. They're what's going to make it matter. The draft plan, I would say, does not represent a perfect reconciliation of 32,000 plus points of view. If it were possible for that version of this plan to exist, I think it would be very brief. This plan does represent the prevailing public values and priorities that we consistently heard should guide Mount Lebanon's leadership for the next 10 years. It includes our, I would say, thoroughly vetted professional recommendations on how to most effectively advance those priorities. And it leaves room in many cases for continued conversation within the community to determine exactly what implementation needs to look like. We are deeply grateful to everybody who has contributed to the development of the draft so far, and especially to those who are taking time this evening to engage.
Right, thank you for those comments. Just a reminder, we know folks who signed up, but just a reminder, there is not a vote tonight. This is strictly to hear comments. The vote is not scheduled until January 9th of next year. First on the list, Lori Moran, are you representing residents? Okay, please, Lori Moran, please come on down.
Good evening, thank you for having me. I'm Lori Moran, 600 Grant Street, 44th floor, Pittsburgh, 15219. I'm here to talk about the 10-year community program. I'm here for the business community. For our company is who owns some real estate on Main Street and Washington Boulevard, as well as several other businesses with whom I've spoken who have concerns about the business plan. The opening statement of the 10-year plan reads, Mount Lebanon is well known as one of Pittsburgh's most livable by virtue of the thriving business district, distinctive neighborhood, national blue ribbon schools, quality recreation opportunities, expansive tree canopy, and first-rate municipal services. After which this report proceeds to set forth 130 pages outlining changes for this most livable community that will cost millions of dollars while doing very little to appreciably improve the quality of life for our residents and business community. Mount Lebanon has zoning ordinances in place to regulate our business and residential development. Economics should drive the rest. It's Econ 101 all over the world. Community development is not rocket science, and it's certainly not new. Business districts need parking, and they need a business-friendly commission who understands how critical the business district tax basis is to a community and the critical services that they provide. What do you and your family need more? A parking space along Washington Road or a bike lane? It's common sense. So our concern is primarily approving this vast plan which has so many moving parts and so much money and so many business unfriendly provisions without looking at each one individually and how it impacts our business district, because the business impact impacts all of our residential sales, our values, our business sales and values. And I think it's really important to take a hard look at this plan before this huge thing is passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Next, whoa. Thank you. Brian, you're next.
Good evening, members of the commissioner. My name is Brian Neff. I live at 1163 Furwood Drive. You may know me as a member of the Community to Save 50 Moffett Street, and I've been in front of this body on numerous times to advocate on behalf of that group, and I'm here tonight in a similar capacity. As you know, the members of this group believe that this body did a major grievous disservice to the community by approving zoning changes in the R3 district that would allow for a high-density townhome development in a low-density area. We have asked on several occasions for this body to modify those, which have so far been refused. Our understanding is that many of the members of this commission believe that that should take place as part of the comprehensive plan project, which is why we're here to talk about the comprehensive plan project. On the other hand, I have an understanding that some of you may believe that that was the right decision, even though members of the community don't believe so. So I'm here to talk a little bit about my understanding of the comprehensive plan as it may play into those zoning changes that may take place during the comprehensive plan. And as to zoning and land development, I feel that the comprehensive plan is long on ideals, but short on details. There's really no understanding of what types of zoning changes are going to be made under this, but zoning is clearly a part of the comprehensive plan, and changes to that plan are certainly anticipated. One of the themes that I gathered from the comprehensive plan is higher density in Mount Lebanon, bringing in more residential to Mount Lebanon perhaps. And that may be all well and good, but it has its own place. And I want to talk about it. I've submitted through the online portal my own comments. I also speak for Cynthia Wagner, who is under the weather tonight and couldn't be here, and she's asked me to convey her thoughts as well. But let me just talk about a few of the major points that I've raised here. First of all, as I kind of alluded to before, there's a major distrust among members of the community against this body for what it has done. So I would say that with regard to the comprehensive plan, transparency is imperative, and information about changes to the zoning and land development code should be given liberally. The time frame for updating the zoning and subdivision and land development ordinances under the plan is entirely too long. It stretches out for another 3 years potentially, up until the end of 2026 as a potential date for completing those. And given the issues that we have raised on numerous occasions, that is entirely too long. And this body should shorten the time frame and make it definite within the next 6 months to a year to come up with a solution on changes to the zoning. The changes to the zoning and/or the subdivision and land development code should involve diverse residents in the municipality that are involved in the process. That creates transparency, and that creates legitimacy for whatever you do at the end of the day. Low-density districts should not be burdened with high-density developments, plain and simple. If you have an R1 district, you shouldn't be putting an R7 development in it. And that goes through for the R2 district, for the R3 district as well, and may go even further than that. Finally, I would just point out development should not be pursued just for the sake of development, but must be done to maintain the character of Mount Lebanon, or our municipality will lose what makes it special. So I thank you for hearing me out tonight, and I hope you heed what I've said tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Brian. Next on the list, Kim Moreau.
Hi, 308 Twin Hills Drive. I'm going to be reading comments that Chuck Blumenshine submitted to you guys via email. The draft plan appears to place a very high priority on development of vacant land in Mount Lebanon. Mount Lebanon's former slogan of a community with character has been changed to "This is home." The draft comprehensive plan will certainly change Mount Lebanon from a community with character to a community with no character, and will not feel like home anymore. The plan states finding opportunities where the community can strive to build the tax base within its largely built-out geography, provide housing in a range of prices and create a wider range of housing options, better enabling seniors to stay in the community as they age. The plan implies that this development would be better for seniors to stay in the community. The plan proposes to eliminate or reduce minimum unit sizes for residential and other uses where applicable. This modification would potentially lead to smaller, less expensive homes. The plan also suggests to, quote, add density where it is precedented and or otherwise contextually appropriate and supported by access to amenities, potentially including adding instances of the mixed-use overlay district. Consider expanding the array of housing typologies permitted as principal uses by right, and consider expanding the districts where accessory dwelling units, ADUs, are permitted by right. Allowing height increases to accessory structures but beyond residential uses would enable converting attic garages to ADUs. Internal ADUs can also be permitted, a permitted typology. That is a lot of complex planning language for the common person to understand. It seems to say that we want more smaller homes and taller ADUs that don't look like homes in the area. This should all be rewritten to make it clear. The plan suggests provide growth and development in ways that reinforce and enhance neighborhood character, with a goal of fortifying the tax base and increasing the share of Mount Lebanon households that can reach daily necessities and services within a short walk or bike ride from home. And Mount Lebanon grocery stores are few and far between, and biking is not an easy task due to the topography, not due to the lack of bike lanes. This plan needs to identify where these areas in Mount Lebanon are located, as it seems to be some location in New York City or Europe. The above changes will add a significant development in Mount Lebanon. These developments will not be with the same character of the neighborhood. The ramifications of increased development may not be for the betterment of seniors, as the plan suggests. It will most likely be the opposite. The plan does not address how many ADUs could be added per property, nor does it address the impact on the zoning of the property. If an ADU is added, does the property become multifamily? The added development of smaller residential units with more density is what many younger families are looking for at this time. As is well known, the main draw for younger families to move to Mount Lebanon is the school system. Increased development of higher density and added ADUs will lead to more students attending Mount Lebanon schools. The plan does not address the impact on the school district and its ability to handle additional students or the financial impact on the school district. The credit rating of the school district has been reduced twice in the last 2 years, from A1 to A2 on August 16, 2021, and from A2 to A3 on April 14, 2023, affecting the $129 million in debt. Further downgrading of the debt will lead to higher interest rates and increased financial burdens on the taxpayers. He also illustrated a graph that was the effect of the bond refinancing. Key point is that the debt service expense is not declining over time. The school district is spending the savings elsewhere, not to improve our position for future financing. If zoning changes lead to more students, where will we put them? With neighborhood schools and no buses, our ability to shift enrollment around geography is limited. We will pack more kids into the same buildings. Debt financing will need to be increased. So rather than encouraging seniors to stay in Mount Lebanon, seniors will leave due to increased taxes. The plan advocates for more and denser development so the township can increase its revenue. The view is out of sync with what many residents desire in their neighborhoods. If the plan wants seniors to stay in Mount Lebanon to help pay school taxes, the plan needs to address how future development will impact the Mount Lebanon school system. Lastly, the plan suggests that changes to the zoning will be a long process, as Brian mentioned, through 2026. This is far too long. Many zoning issues need to be addressed immediately, not 3 years from now. Lastly, I just want to comment on the comments that the woman made about who was the consultant for the Ascend Lebo survey. So if I'm getting this correctly, there were an average around 900 people that answered the survey questions out of 30,000 members in the community. Then explain to me what the percentage of people who responded to the survey.
What she was talking about when you're talking about the 900
Yeah.
or the 822 reviews of the
Right.
actual plan. There were many, many other
How many?
points of data.
How many?
Jenny?
And let's respond to the fact that this was all done online and that there were
No.
no paper surveys for people to
No,
answer.
that's not
Let's let our consultant respond to your question.
Yeah, please.
You're looking at across the project, we're talking about 5,000 contacts, in addition to the conversations we had at the community events.
And how many was that with this, of the same people commenting? And was there a limit on the number of people that could respond to a survey over and over and over again?
No.
There was not. So you're telling me that one person could literally just continue to answer the survey questions over and over and over again to address the very, very narrow questions that were asked. And I think this was addressed by my uncle actually when he came up here a while ago and asked the question, why this survey was not given via paper. The
In
demographic,
deference to the other folks who wish to speak, your 5 minutes is up, so thank you for your
yeah,
comments.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Chuck Blumenschein, you're next on the list to speak. Chuck?
Chuck Blumenschein, 905 Ruth Street. Thanks, Kim. I'm not gonna reiterate my comments, but I find it interesting that the number of comments that were actually submitted on this plan is very small in terms of percentage of total population. I think that's a shame. I don't think this plan represents what Lebanon people think and what they would like to see. You changed the name of a community with character to This Is Home, which I'm not sure what the heck that means. But the bottom line is number 1 or number 2 list of all the things people commented on was that they want to maintain the character of Mount Lebanon. And what I see is not going to be the same community in 10 years, the way this plan is outlining things to go. We've already seen what you guys were trying to do at 50 Moffett Street in 6 weeks. You rammed it down our throats. It was done for one developer. And a week after you approved it, he submitted 70-some drawings. Not even possible without something going on in the background. You can do that and rescind those same regulations in 6 weeks, not 3 years. We don't need this kind of density development in single-family homes areas. We need development that's in character with the neighborhoods. And we need to have a voice of Mount Lebanon in this community, and it's not the Mount Lebanon Magazine. We need a website established for this community that allows the people to comment, not controlled by the commission. And the commission should support this aggressively, because that's the only way you're going to get good comments. I'll guarantee you 30,000 people in this community don't even know about this plan or have read it. Now, before my time runs out, I heard that there's something like 8 people that wrote written comments, something like that. Okay. How are those comments going to be responded to before you vote on the plan?
We have them printed. So the
Well, I know you
commissioners-
haven't printed.
Yeah.
How are they going to be responded to? What responses are going to be generated to respond to the comments from the public?
Commission will review the comments and we'll vote on January 9th.
That doesn't answer the question.
I think. it
There
did
are
answer your
specific questions raised to the content of the plan, and you are telling me, oh, we're going to review them and vote on it. But that doesn't respond to the questions raised by the public. The public has genuine comments, and you don't take the time to review the comments and develop responses and make amendments to the plan. That's not right. That is not right.
I don't think anyone's saying that amendments won't be made. Each of the individual commissioners are free to respond to their residents. We've spoken, I've spoken to other people who've made comments and will continue to, and then I certainly have changes to recommend. This entire body will eventually vote on what amendments get made or what changes get made to the language. So I don't want to make it seem like, nothing's going to happen, but I don't know how many discussion sessions publicly we'll have between now and then before we vote, but I'm certain changes will be made.
Is the planning board gonna make comments or rebuttal to the comments or comment on the comments to the public and print their responses?
We're met to discuss. In a very
That's
public
not
session.
what I
It was
asked.
online. It's, if someone wants to look, it's there.
Okay. Well, you heard what I have to say, but I strongly suggest you do not vote in favor of this plan until the comments from the public are looked at and responded to. And there's some agreement on the plan going forward. Thank you very much.
And thank you. Next on the list. Next on the list is Judy, I'll do my best on it. Delacent. Delastien. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to us. I'm Judy Delestien. I live at 827 Bower Hill Road. I have been a part of the 50 Moffett Street resistance. I looked at the comprehensive plan and did not have a lot of time to do it, but I have a couple of things that kind of came up as red flags. On page 34 of the draft, section 11, that's the undertaken update to the zoning and subdivision and land development ordinances. I'll quote from the first paragraph. A comprehensive plan adoption represents an opportune time for such an update as these ordinances are among the most powerful tools a community has to achieve its long-range vision. That being said, the third paragraph states, this process will involve a highly public conversation about any specific changes and where they should apply. So this goes to Chuck's point. My comment on that section is I want to emphasize the importance of this sentence as a commitment of you folks, the planning board, to communication and dialogue with the citizens of Mount Lebanon. May it be so. My second comment has to do with page 36 under resiliency or adding density. In Roman numeral 5, it states add density where it is precedented and or otherwise contextually appropriate. Point 1 under Roman numeral 5 says incorporate, in quotes, gentle residential density in neighborhoods. I don't know what gentle means in quotes. I don't know that any formal document should have a word like that in quotation. So I think this needs to be defined. That's because it's open to interpretation. It needs to be specific. And lastly, point C in Roman numeral 5 under Roman numeral 5 states consider upzoning areas, consider upzoning areas along corridors or proximate to community destinations such as transit stops and business districts. So I kind of have a question about this besides adding density, which is a theme of this comprehensive plan. What would be the goal of that upzoning? Who would be advantaged or disadvantaged? And how would that be considered? As it states, it would be considered. So those are my comments, and I thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Next on the list is Paul Good.
Paul Good, 909 Old Hickory Road, that's Ward 1 for the unwashed. I sent a letter to each of you commissioners on the 26th. I'm just going to read the first paragraph because I'm time limited. As a third generation Mount Lebanon resident, I'm amazed the people who've moved here from other parts of Pittsburgh as well as other states because the community is a nice place to live. And now are proposing a 10-year plan that will destroy the character and value of Mount Lebanon properties with densification and green initiatives. If it's the goal to convert Mount Lebanon into a green Squirrel Hill or Shady Side, it seems to be what they're trying to get at. It's obvious the direction is not coming from the municipality, but from the commissioners, like-minded friends who are appointed, not elected, to each of the advisory groups. The process of selecting the members of each of the advisory groups in the Ascend Plan advisory boards and now supervisory boards and authorities is opaque. There's no published process. Who picks these people? What is the written criteria for their selection? Is their political party affiliation a criterion? Clearly, they're simply yes people. Look at the numbers and acknowledgements on the Ascend report. There are 28 advisory group members making all the decisions, the entire population of Mount Lebanon. Look at the bar charts on page 17. What's missing is how many Mount Lebanon property owners, taxpayers responded to come up with these flawed statistical justifications. 28, 500, a claim of 900, it's not defined. Despite the bold claim of the consultant, very few people are aware of this plan, let alone have read it. It flies in the face of the false claim on page 12 that the municipality is committed to transparency and participatory decision-making. Releasing a complex, highly nuanced, 130-page plan just 9 days before commissioner elections and weeks into mail-in voting to an uninformed electorate speaks volumes about transparency. I'd suggest that the negative community impact of all these things is too great to have a few select make all these decisions. I suggest you put this as a referendum on the ballot and let the voters vote, make a decision. In my letter to each of you, I had to go through it because it's like a contract. I don't have enough time to do it all. But I suggest you read my letter again, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next on the list, Mary Good.
You're gonna think there's an echo in here with another good from 909 Old Hickory Road. Well, I'm gonna start out by saying I do a lot of walking and unfortunately I do a lot of talking. And I asked many, many people, do you know about the 10-year plan? One person knew about it. What they say, what are you talking about? So a lot of my comments are ones that have already been made, but I think that helps reinforce the point. I got the impression from the plan that environmental concerns are pretty high on the list. Environmental concerns and preserving green spaces, that's the same, but adding density to Mount Lebanon is not preserving green spaces. That concerns me. And the green spaces that we have are at a premium. Several people have talking about preserving Mount Lebanon character. We are a suburb. We're not rural. We're not urban. People move here because they want the kind of environment that we presently have. If you highly densify it, you have taken that away. You've taken the reason that a lot of people, and new neighbors for me, have said that they've moved in. Very concerning is this idea of auxiliary dwelling units. That sounds like we want to be San Francisco. They're just very unhappy with that idea. Anytime you're thinking about making a change, and this came up, I hope you will consider talking with the residents and the business owners who will be directly affected by it. That didn't happen on Moffett Street, and I'm afraid it'll happen again with this plan, that the people most affected by it will never have a say about it. There's also comments about needing more affordable housing. Actually, the median house in Mount Lebanon is less than the national median price. And I can't think of another community where you can buy a very modest house all the way up to a fabulous house. You can be in an apartment, a duplex, a double. We have so many housing options right now. That's to be commended. I also hope that when you are looking at changes, that you will look at the cost benefit of the changes. So there's several in the plan. I won't mention most of them. I'm thinking about the bike lanes. As I said, I walk a lot. I have only seen maybe once a year someone who's riding a bike for transportation purposes as opposed to recreation. Well, you get the idea. Just do a cost benefit analysis of what these changes would be. And then I just have a question from the last plan. What percentage was actually came to fruition?
Well, we've completed 56 of the 58 action items that were in that plan.
Okay. And how many action plan items are in this particular plan?
I don't know. I knew the answer to that last one. Because I was the municipal planner for the last plan. So
Give it back to me. All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Greg Boris.
Good evening, Greg Boris, 900 Washington Road. I've lived in single-family homes most of my adult life. And now I live in a 61-unit apartment building. It's a hell of a deal. I love it. My wife loves it. This is a great thing for us. We moved here a year ago from the Midwest and chose Mount Lebanon because it had what we wanted, primarily to be close to our grandkids. But it also is a vibrant community where we could walk and bicycle, and I bicycle a lot, to places we want to go and need to go, as well as transit options to go beyond the borders of the community. Now, while we're new to town, my father and mother grew up in the area, so I have cousins all over the place. And I've been around here for most of my life. I'm pleased to see that Mount Lebanon is taking the development plan as mandated by the state seriously and making it comprehensive. I'm well aware that mandates are often just sort of sloughed over, and it seems that this is being taken seriously, and that we as a community cannot rest on our laurels. With that said, I just want to focus on a few things. I've submitted comments on the Mount Lebanon document. Not going to go into those. I just want to draw attention to a couple of things. One is that survey respondents noted the improvement of the sidewalk network and safe crossings as a top priority. To that end, and also as the plan noted, I not only encourage these two things, but also a reduction of speed on the streets in town. This enhances the safety of those on foot. Now, while signage helps, design of the street is what really makes a difference. On some residential streets, we already have speed humps. That and tree canopy, the width of a street and parked vehicles also slows cars down. On arterials, we rely primarily on signage with street canopy and the lane width also helping a bit. Now, in front of where I live, hundreds, literally hundreds of people walk by there every day. Primarily kids going to and from school. This is in an area that is outside of the school zone. So as soon as the cars get past the traffic light, zoom up to 35 or more, they go. Coupled with the narrow sidewalk, utility poles, walking is perceived as unsafe by many of the people who live in the building that I live in. Safe alternatives need to be pursued. As I mentioned, I bicycle around Mount Lebanon and beyond Mount Lebanon. I go to my doctor over by Willow Avenue on my bicycle. I go to the donut shop on Mount Lebanon Boulevard on my bicycle, and I work it off on the way back. Among the places I bike to is at Castle Shannon Commercial District. It is good to see the idea of a secure bike parking suggested. You know, that's nice, but what is really needed is some sort of dedicated, protected side path for walkers and cyclists. You go past McDonald's and you have a shoulder. And you have to safely move through the area. Do you want kids walking on the shoulder? No, you want some sort of protected side path. So it would help cyclists and it would help pedestrians. So I'll stop there. My comments have been submitted. Thank you for taking my comments, and I look forward to seeing adoption, amended adoption and implementation of a plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Do we have any commenters online?
Nobody's online.
Nobody's online. All right. Anybody else in the room? Last chance to add to the list? All right, hearing no additional volunteers, we'll call this hearing closed. All right, next on the agenda, item 7, Commissioner Flynn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance bill number 623 concerning the municipality's 2024 budget. The commission held budget work sessions on November 9th, November 18th, November 30th, and December 5th. A public hearing was held November 14th to comment on the manager's 2024 recommended budget. A second public hearing is being held tonight to comment on the manager's 24 recommended budget regarding any commission revisions to the manager's recommended budget. The amendments are displayed on the screen to your left. Mr. President, or Commission President, I recommend we have the public hearing.
Thank you. Let's conduct the hearing. Dave Egler, you've signed up to speak, please.
21 Poplar Drive. Before I continue my discussion, first off, I apologize, Commissioner Silverman, I forgot to thank you for your service. I've been around twice now, I believe, as president, and I've worked with you in the past, and it's been a pleasure, and lucky you're getting on now because I'm back, and I feel sorry for the next president.
Yay.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know Dave. I've known him for years. He knows
Back to many
me.
decades.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Many decades.
what I want, there's like 62 items, which I had to get the magnifying glass out to read them. That's got to be a record, as far as amendments and, carryovers. No, it's not. Well, since my day it is, but anyway, I'm not gonna comment about item by item. I'm just gonna kind of hit one area that I spoke about earlier, and it has to do with the fee and how it relates to the overall budget. And I know it's been mentioned time and time again about how that fee and the lowering the millage rate was not supposed to be equal. My question was, why not? You're bringing in, after the adjustments, about $3.2 million in the fee, and you're dropping, based on the millage, 0.41 mils, just over $1 million. That's about 1/3 about what it should be to be revenue neutral, okay? That leaves a balance of about 0.8 mils that needs to be made up. And I'll give you that, okay, garbage rates went up about $750,000. And if my numbers are wrong anywhere, please correct me, but say $750,000, that still brings it down to over $500,000 increase. The increase is out there, and it's out there forever. I would like to hear a justification for this increase. That was not discussed. I went back and reviewed some of the meetings. That was not discussed. To me, this is kind of like a hidden backdoor tax increase. You know, the people believe they're getting a tax break and, oh, we got this fee now. The bottom line is, as you all see, you're paying a lot more next year. And I just would like to have somebody explain to me why you needed so much more money for next year. I did not, you know, reviewing, unless I missed it somewhere, I did not hear that being discussed at any of the workshops that I viewed or attended. Anybody care to?
Courage to step up.
Yeah, it's not.
We discussed it after the meeting last time.
Yeah.
It's been discussed many times. I just don't think you're hearing what's being said. It's not meant to be a dollar for dollar tax reduction. We discussed this after the same meeting we had last time.
And I've responded 3 times in a row.
I get it. We're
I'm
all-
listening. I'm listening. I get it. I understand it. The bottom line is there's an increase in dollars. Why? Every year, if there's an increase in the budget, it's explained by the commission to the residents. This year it was not. I'm asking why. I've been through the budgets for 45 years. I know what's said at them. So you don't have to repeat it again. I get it. I know what revenue neutral is. The bottom line is it was only lowered 1/3 to be revenue neutral. And I get it. You're saying no, it wasn't meant to be. Okay, it's not meant to be. Why the increase? I mean, we're talking over $2 million. $2 million. That's huge. All I'm asking for is an explanation. Why do you need it? If you can come up with some good reasons, that's fine. I get it. Look at your capital. You have $1 million item in there.
Right.
Okay, that's a big piece of it. I get it. But in the past, those things didn't get passed in an operating budget. They were passed usually with a budget amendment or a bond issue. That is so rare to have an operating budget for that to pass. That is extremely rare to come in out of the blue and pass $1 million item like that, in addition to a $750,000 item. Once again, those, and then historically, you go back and look, they're either done by a bond issue or you wait until the spring. And if you have a good year and there's money out there to do it, the commissioners decide to put it in there then. Right now, you have it in there. And once again, that millage is there. It's in place. Guess what? It's there next year too. So this excess you're making up for those capital items, you're covered for next year. Not only that, you got the fee going up 9% next year, 9.2% the year after, 8.7, 9.3. Every year that's going up that much on that side. And then there's your millage on the other side. I mean, you guys are covered for life here. In my day, once again, when we had a tough budget and you had an unexpected expense like this refuse, we went back to the department heads and said, hey, take out personnel costs, lower your budget by 15% across the board. That's how we came up with the balanced budget back then. I didn't hear anything being asked to have anybody reduce anything.
Well, that's not exactly true. I do want to just make sure everyone knows that department heads were in fact asked what cuts needed to be made or could be made to bring the budget down by, I believe it was around 10%. And the decision was made that those cuts were very draconian and that for people, meaning the citizens of Mount Lebanon, who already pay a rather large tax bill, ourselves included, that having the services in place that we have was more important. So there was actually that look. The $1 million, as you know, is for the fire training facility. And it really is to some extent, a regional facility and one we felt was important. We are applying for grant funds for some things, but we don't have any assurances those will come in. So I don't think this is that terrible of a budget. It does increase things, but I think everything that it's going for are things that this community needs.
I think your characterization of the fire project as being just, I think your exact phrase is effective. We just dropped that. It's like, we've been talking about that seemingly for at least a year. So this isn't new. This is.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, an item like that historically does not make it in the operating budget.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Mhm.
very unusual to have
Yes.
that large of an item, make it an operating budget. And it's because of this swap
Mhm.
that allowed for it.
That's not true, Dave. That's not true.
We
We don't look at things like that. And this is the conversation we had after the last meeting. We look at the budget holistically. We look at hundreds of items. And the resolve of all those hundreds of items come to a number that we have to account for. And if it's a lower number, we have the ability to reduce taxes, which we did. If it's a higher number, we have to look and say, how do we make up for it by cutting? In some areas, we had that conversation like Ann said. We had conversations about cutting staff, about changing different things. We had those conversations.
I get
And
it.
I would also say additionally, the continued conversation of saying that the fee is somehow tied or supposed to be tied, again, dollar for dollar, I think just conflates the issue. And I think that's done on purpose by you. That's not what we're talking about here.
Bottom line is, when you have a budget, you have a bottom line dollar that you need from year to year and an increase.
Yeah.
And you guys have skewed the numbers because of this fee. Whether you want to admit it, how you get it, whatever else, your percentage increase is significant. This is very unusual. Okay, bottom line, like I said, you don't have to tell me about numbers and how they work. I know how they work. I've been here and played the game. Okay, I know how it works on how you get things approved. And this is very unusual this year, how this is going through and its cost. And once again, and who has to pay the excess is once again very unusual. By shifting to this fee, it's putting more of a burden on the lower end. And you can say whether you think that's true or not. If that's your goal, to hit the lower end people, then you've succeeded. Please admit it. The bottom line is that's what's working out with the numbers. That's how the numbers work. Numbers don't lie. I gave you the percentages and how it changes.
Unless,
And I just,
sure.
Since this-
And also I think Commissioner Ray wanted to say something as well, so. please.
I just want to say, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. The numbers don't lie. And everything, you said is true. We didn't want to switch the lower tax bracket to make them pay more. We didn't want to, but that's what we decided to do. After we looked at it for almost an entire year, we decided to go with the fee structure because it'll set us up better 5 years from now. And when we take that shortcut of just slashing things 15%, then we're facing infrastructure that hasn't been maintained, and we're faced across the board, across departments. And we have some crises in the departments that I won't speak about publicly because we haven't been funding things appropriately. So this change, yes, we are increasing taxes, and that will build capacity not just for next year, because we have some large capital projects that we put in the operating budget, which is very, very unusual. Agreed. But it will build capacity for the next 5 years or the next 10 years for projects that we see that are coming, for salaries that we see that are needed for personnel and for projects. So it's intentional. And if it wasn't clear to you and we didn't have a manager's message that said so, I apologize for that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that's the first time that was your intent to have the fee to do it in this structure.
Yeah, we're building capacity. We're
But-
raising taxes,
Well.
however you want to call it, by a fee.
Well, you're raising money one way or the other, and all I'm saying is it's fair to do by the tax millage rate rather than fees. That's what it comes down to. That's the end. And who pays the higher burden?
Yeah.
That's the whole argument here, and you're saying.
And we made this
decide-
decision. We don't love
make-
it, but that's what we did.
But you made the decision that the people on the lower end will pay a higher percentage in the future than the higher end people. That's.
So we could pull trash out so that it's, what we're being charged is what we're charging our residents.
Well, speaking of the trash, in my.
You.
This is-
I was just like to make a request, since the commercial people, do not have to pay for trash pickup. Can I back out and say, I don't want trash pickup, and it says on January 1, say I don't want this, it's not part of taxes. Taxes are required. This is a service that's been put on us without me negotiating anything. I'd like to drop that service next year.
Each of you say something. Hang on, this is.
Mr. Egler. And you and I work together. As you know, it starts with the manager's recommended budget by charter. I'm required to deliver to the commission by November 1st, a balanced budget. So this year, as I went through the process, I started by looking at current service levels, trying to identify any potential reductions to current service levels. Of those, I found about $136,000 in savings that I felt were appropriate to make cuts. I also reviewed other current levels, made a recommendation to the commission that they not consider cutting certain existing levels because that would have resulted in a decrease in services to the residents. I then looked at what we needed to fund. To your question, under the capital items, we needed to fund approximately $2.3 million in projects, everything from the fire training facility to a new leaf and debris grinder to a variety of other projects that total to that. We then looked at expansion levels that I was recommending, which total approximately another $441,000. So as to where that money is going, that's kind of how we got to that number. And I don't know if that gives you any additional insight to your question about where are we spending those dollars. My budget message did give a high-level overview of the process that I went through and my recommendation for shifting from taxes to a fee for garbage and trash removal.
All right, you got bonus, Dave. Let's see if anybody else wants to comment. First online, anybody online who wants to comment on the budget amendments?
No one has their hand raised.
Okay, anybody else in the room? All right, thank you for this hearing. It's been very helpful. Thank you, but hearing closed.
Mr. President,
Yes,
if I may, I'd like to move to enact ordinance bill number 6-23.
we got a motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 8, Commissioner Grella, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of ordinance bill number 7-23, fixing the tax rate for the year 2024. The municipality will be fixing its tax rate in accordance with the adopted budget. The tax rate for general purposes is currently 4.91 mils. The tax shall be fixed at the rate of 4.5 mils for the year 2024 and continue in force for each successive calendar year without annual reenactment unless the tax is subsequently changed. This ordinance was introduced November 14, 2023, and a public hearing was held on November 28, 2023. I move to enact ordinance bill number 7-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 9, Commissioner Spargo Wilson, please.
Mr. President, before we go to item 9,
Okay.
I'm sorry, it was my error. Just wanted to indicate that we did receive comments through an email on the budget from Seth Davis. I have those comments. We will enter those into the minutes as part of the public hearing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 9, Mr. Spargo Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of ordinance bill number 5-23, amending the 2023 budget for revenue and expenditures not anticipated in the 2023 budget. The following adjustments are proposed. Section 1, the 2023 budget is amended as follows. You can see it on the screen on your left if you're in the audience, on my right for all the commissioners. The ordinance was introduced on November 14th, 2023, and the public hearing was held November 28th, 2023. I move to enact ordinance bill number 5-23.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 10, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Consideration of ordinance bill number 8-23, establishing a fee for the collection of garbage. Mount Lebanon currently contracts for garbage collection. As a result of higher costs in the recently approved 5-year contract, the commission has decided to assess an annual fee for the collection of garbage beginning January 1st, 2024. The proposed ordinance established the fee at $290 a year for the first year, gradually increasing to $410 in the final year. There is a 2% discount for payment prior to April 30th. The proposed ordinance also contains an exoneration provision and a standard billing and collection provisions. The ordinance was introduced on November 14th, 2023, and the public hearing was held November 28th, 2023. I move to enact ordinance bill number 8-2023. 8-23.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 11, Commissioner Grella, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of an ordinance bill number 9-23, amending the stormwater fee billing and collection procedures. Mount Lebanon currently assesses a stormwater fee, which is billed and collected annually with an option for large properties to pay every 4 months. The ordinance changes the billing method to just annual billing. The ordinance also established February 1 as the billing date, April 30 as the end of the discount period, and August 31 as the due date at face. The ordinance changes will align the billing and collection with that of the garbage fee. This ordinance was introduced on November 14, 2023, and the public hearing was held on November 28, 2023. I move to enact ordinance bill number 9-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 12, Commissioner Flynn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of ordinance bill number 10-23, establishing compensation for employees for 2024. This ordinance establishes the pay rates and levels for employees, including those covered by collective bargaining for 2024. It also sets hours of work and overtime, longevity, and fringe benefits. This ordinance was introduced on November 28th, 2023. Mr. President, I move to enact ordinance bill number 10-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 13, Commissioner Spargo Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of resolution number R-17-23, adopting the capital improvement program for 2024 through 2028. As required by the charter, the capital improvement program for 2024 through 2028 was submitted to the commission on August 1st, 2023. Copies of the document were placed at the library, municipal building, and on the website. A public hearing was held on October 10th, 2023. I move to adopt resolution number R-17-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 14, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of resolution number R-18-23 designating a depository for the funds of Mount Lebanon for all primary banking activities. The municipality must designate a depository each year for its funds. The Director of Finance recommends that the municipality retain depository of First National Bank for all primary banking activities. I move to adopt resolution number R-18-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for the extra aye from the Finance Director. The motion passes unanimously. Item 15, Commissioner Grillo, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of resolution number R-19-23, designating a depository for the funds of Mount Lebanon. The municipality must designate a depository each year for its funds. The Director of Finance recommends that the municipality retain depository of West Banco Bank for the treasurer's account and petty cash account. I move to adopt resolution number R-19-23.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 16, Commissioner Flynn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of resolution number R-20-23, establishing employee contributions to the pension plans for 2024. Each year, the employee contribution levels must be set for the municipality's pension plans. The calculation is done in accordance with state law, and the contribution levels are collectively bargained with employee groups. Employee contributions for 2024 to the Mount Lebanon Police, Fire, and General Pension Plans are hereby established as follows. The police is 4.5% of total eligible compensation. Fire, hired prior to August 28th, 2011 is 4.5% of total compensation. Hired after August 28th, 2011 is 4.5% of base salary and longevity. General employees hired prior to January 1, 2012 is 4.5% of total compensation. And general employees hired after January 1, 2012 is 4.5% of base salary and longevity. Mr. President, I move to adopt resolution number R-20-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 17, Commissioner Spargo Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is consideration of resolution number R-21-23, adopting the 2024 comprehensive fee schedule. The commission has reviewed and is now approving the proposed 2024 comprehensive fee schedule for municipal operations and activities. I move to adopt resolution number R-21-23.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 8, Commissioner Rainey, please.
Thank you,
18,
Mr.
excuse me, not 8.
Consideration for the expenditure list for November totaling $7,023,132.68. I move to approve the expenditure list for November totaling $7,023,132.68.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I just want to note that this is Commissioner Randy's last motion to move. Thank you.
We got it. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, which leads us to item 19, and we are sorry to see you leave. It is it was Mr. Rainey's last meeting.
You gotta get a picture.
We have a gift for you. I think, is it the gift, the battery, or it's in the red box?
It's both.
He's got enough energy. She doesn't need it. But thank you. We appreciate it. It's been a
Aw,
pleasure
thank
working
you.
with you. Thank
Can I
you.
open it during the meeting or at the end
You
of the meeting?
can,
It
it's
is
up to you.
Totally up to you.
Let's adjourn.
All right. fair
Get
enough,
up, let everybody
fair enough.
get out of here. They
That
want
is-
to get out.
Let me leave the round of applause. Thank you.
I seriously have enjoyed working with you all, especially the staff. Really, there's not a more stellar group of people. We're all lucky. We're all very lucky to be here. So it was a privilege. It was a fun 4 years. I'm not going anywhere. So if you need me, let me know.
I think that was a threat.
Yeah. No, I can help.
Goodness. And I'm gonna miss this part. We're adjourned. Yes, I
Not
do.
very much staff last year.
Thank
but,
you.
yeah, picture.